Let me make it very clear that he was not being effectively placed under house arrest. He was simply being told to relocate from Tongpiny to Jebel because of the presence of the security forces, the inconveniences the insecurity forces were causing in the area. The stationing of forces in the area had caused a lot of inconveniences in terms of freedom of movement and in terms of feeling at ease. After the message was delivered on the need for him to relocate, the commanders that were tasked with the responsibility left. Then there was a third force now that came on the scene to enforce the directive by way maybe of providing extra security and escorting him. Now the confusion started building up. The force within the perimeter wall, the force outside, the second force that had been deployed about 2 weeks earlier on, and the third that arrived at around 4 to 5. All of these forces are under different commands. And the element of this exercising proper command, control, and coordination somehow got lost in the middle. And while these elements became a little bit in short supply, there was misunderstanding between the force that was inside for his close protection and the one that was deployed outside of the fence. There was misunderstanding. And as a result, the two forces exchanged fires. Media briefing is because of the fighting that we had yesterday at the residence of the former SPA chief, General Akol Koor Kuc. I would like to go back a little bit for the story to flow. I do not want to rush to the main agenda that brought me here. All of you would recall that General Akol was appointed as the Director General of Internal Security Bureau in 2011. He served for 13 years in the same capacity, made very remarkable contributions in the docket. About a month ago or two, His Excellency the President exercised his prerogatives as the President of the Republic and relieved him. That is entirely his prerogative. Then appointed him as the Governor of Warab State, and later on that appointment was revoked. About 2 weeks ago, there was a directive on the need for his movement to be restricted and be confined to his residence at Tongpiny residential area. And when that order was issued, a written order was delivered to him, and it was announced to him that his movement was being restricted. After that step was taken, other security measures were put in place to ensure his security and safety. Additional security forces were deployed outside of his residence. That was the first step that was taken. The second step was that the force that he had when he was still in power, when he was still the DG, and when he served briefly as the Governor of Warab State, the force that he had was also downsized to a reasonable force, and that force was deployed within his compound. So that meant there were two forces, one inside the compound and the second one outside of the compound, with different commands performing different roles, which is essentially is protection. Yesterday in the morning or there in the afternoon, there was another directive. That directive was on the need for him to be relocated from his residential area in Tongpiny to his second residential area in Jebel. The heads of 4 units were called, and they were given the directive. Those who were directed included his successor, General Akol, who was given the directive, then the Chief of Military Intelligence for Sspdf, and then the Commander of Tiger, as well as the Chief for Operations at Sspdf General Headquarters. All of them, the four of them, went to General Akol's residence and delivered to him a message on the need for him to relocate from Tongpiny to Jebel residential area. All what was required of him was that he was needed to relocate alone himself, with his family, his wife, and a bodyguard plus a senior officer that would be assigned to him in his second residential area. And let me make it very clear that he was not being effectively placed under house arrest. He was simply being told to relocate from Tongpiny to Jebel because of the presence of the security forces, the inconveniences the insecurity forces were causing in the area. You know, Tongpiny area has a lot of diplomatic missions. A lot of diplomats are residing in Tongpiny, and where the incident took place not very far from the residence of the American ambassador, and that area also has a lot of NGO. So the stationing of forces in the area had caused a lot of inconveniences in terms of freedom of movement and in terms of feeling at ease. After the message was delivered on the need for him to relocate, the force, the commanders that were tasked with the responsibility left. Then there was a third force now that came on the scene to enforce the directive by way maybe of providing extra security and escorting him. Now the confusion started building up. The force within the perimeter wall, the force outside, the second force that had been deployed about 2 weeks earlier on, and the third that arrived at around 4 to 5. All of these forces are under different commands, and the element of this exercising proper command, control, and coordination somehow got lost in the middle. And while these elements became a little bit in short supply, there was misunderstanding between the force that was inside for his close protection and the one that was deployed outside of the fence. There was misunderstanding, and as a result, the two forces exchanged fires. That was the start of the armed confrontation that you heard of. And of course, small arms fire was heard, followed by other combat support weaponry systems. That was what transpired. Immediately after the eruption of the clashes, the first step that was taken by the chief of staff was for him to rush to the scene. He was able to convince and order the warring parties to cease all forms of hostilities, which they did. And all of you who had contacted me throughout the night would concur with me that after the sporadic fire stopped, it stopped at around 10. Until now, I'm talking to you, there were no reports of gunfire at his residence. Today in the morning, which is the main subject matter, there was a very urgent security meeting convened by His Excellency, the President, in his capacity as the Commander-in-Chief of Sspdf and the Supreme Commander of all the organized forces. A very successful meeting was held under his leadership. It was attended by the Chief of Defense Forces, the Inspector General of Police, the new Director General of National Security Service, and our Chief of Military Intelligence. And the resolution that was arrived at was a very wonderful resolution that brought me to the studios to come and announce to you. I'm glad that the Chief of Defense Forces made a request for him to take the lead, because of course it is the army that is supposed to take the lead in any given situation. So he took the lead and started engaging General Akol Koor for the second time on the need for him to comply with the CNC's orders for him to relocate to his second residence. And the good news is that a few minutes ago, around 30 to 45 minutes ago, General Akol Koor accepted to relocate to his second residence in Jebel residential area with his dear wife, one bodyguard, and a cook. A senior officer will be assigned to him to liaise and oversee his protection. Then to keep at bay any opportunities, spoilers, he is going to be provided with an additional protection by the Sspdf at his new residence. And basically, he is not under house detention, he's just relocating to his residence. This is the biggest news that I have come to report to you, that the gunfire that we heard yesterday was not planned. Nobody had ordered for it. It was a misunderstanding. And as a result, we are able to successfully resolve it without unnecessary more bloodshed. And I'm taking this opportunity to inform the people of South Sudan that the problem has been successfully resolved. Whatever is remaining would be an administrative issue. How did the fighting begin? Those who were directly involved, how did they end up fighting? Was there anybody that gave order? So those officers that were involved in the fighting will be subjected to administrative measures so that we know exactly what had terribly gone wrong. And of course, there is a saying that when two elephants fight, the grass suffer. We are registered 4 fatalities. A total of 4 people lost their lives. We have lost 2 servicemen, one who was from the security force that were inside the compound, and the other one from the one outside of the fence. Then we registered 2 civilian casualties. 2 civilians were crushed to death by our armored personnel carriers, the Baba del Sukarda. No, when they were maneuvering, they were maneuvering left and right. They unfortunately and intentionally crushed to death 2 civilians. In the crossfire, we registered 2 civilians that were shot and wounded. I was told one is a student at the University of Juba, and the second one, the Maulana. All of whom are in stable condition. We were able to retrieve the dead, taken to mortuary, the wounded to hospital. So as we speak, it is back to business as usual. And in a very special way, on behalf of Sspdf, we'd like to thank the CNC for demonstrating very exceptional leadership, for the heads of the organized forces for demonstrating very exceptional leadership, and they have actually succeeded in resolving what many thought was a recurrence of 2013 and 2016 fighting. It has been successfully contained, like the way I said, and we are hopeful that nothing of that nature will ever occur again. Thank you very much. فأنا بقول بعربك بتاعنا بتاع جوبا ده اللاجة الأصل بالفعل امبارح أجي زي الساعة 6 الساعة 7 في ميسا كان في قوات وزعناه في أول البيت بتاع جنرال أكول كور عندنا قوة بسيط كان في داك الكومباوند بتاعه وأجي زي فصيلة برا والقوادة لما نعملهم ديبلوي من هناك ده دولهم assignment براو يعملوا بروتكشن جول بسيط في جوا والجول الكبير برا. فأجي زي الساعة 2 ومبارح للساعة 3 تعليمات جديد جا من قيادة الكبير شان جنرال أكول كور يرال من بيت بتاول في تونغبيني يمشي بيت بتاول نمرة 2 في جبل وسبب الدولو طلب ده لانه تونغبيني ده محل عنده أجانب كتار، عنده دبلوماسيين كتار، عنده ناس بتاع منظمات كتار شغالين هناك. فلما نعمل ديبلويمنت للجيش في محل بتاع جنرال أكول كور في بيت بتاعه في أحوال البيت بتاعه وجود بتاع قوة بأرباط بتصلية تقيل كل الناس ما بيكون عندك استقرار في أول الوش طريقة لمن بدور بو لأنه مرات أجي زي الساعة 6 الساعة 7 ناس بمر بالسكة بتاع بيت بتاع جار أكول كور. فماشي قال له يا أخي من فضلك لك النبي ممكن يتحول لجبل. ففي زمن بتاع تاويلات ده شان زول ده يرال وما يرال حصل اختلافات بين قوات الجوا وقوات البرة وقوات النمرتلات اللي كان جبناه عشان يجي يواصل بتعليمات الأخرى كان جابوا مبارح. فاختلافات ده أنا ما بعرف بدأ كيف، لكن لما مجلس تحقيق يعملوا ونسألوا الناس الشباب ده ومن بقدر بيجي بيقول لنا بتحقيق شنو حصل. فهم شاكلوا قوات بتاعنا برانا نحن SPDF هم شاكلوا 2 عساكر قتلوا، واحد عسكري من قوات الجوا وواحد من القوات البرة. وفي نفس الشكل أننا فقدنا أرواح بتاع 2 مواطنين الدبابات بتاعنا سكار ده فجقهم، و2 نفر بلو يتعوقوا، واحد طالب في جامعة جوبا، واحد تاعنا أنا سميته قالوا ده مولانا. ده واجل كان أصل مباري في مصر ويتم سميت ضرب كتير بأصله عنده فرق من 3 سكر زي كلانشيكو ل 12.7 14 حتى ميبي زكي 23. لكن زي ما شفتوا شاناجة ده ما قاصدينه جاب بصدفة يا كسائر بتاعه ما ماشي فوق زي ده. لو كان فيه قصد وفيه روح كاب ناس دايرين يقتلوا نفوسهم جد 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 فيه قصد كان أرواح كتير فقدناه. فلما انشكل قام القائد بتاعنا بتاع الجيش جارل سانتينو دينوال قام ماشي في مال شكله، ماشي عكسه، ماشي وقف الشكله، وصبادة البريزيدنسي ماشي عمل محضرة، والجنرال دينوال واصل بشكل بتاعه الوقبوه شكل ومبارة ده رجع لجنرال أكول كور ماشي كلم معه. وأنا بقول لكم ده جنرال أكول كور في أكرلازات الوافق مع تعليمات عشان يمشي بيت بتاعه في جبل. وانا بقول لكم قبل اجي 45 دقائق الفاتة ده جرى لاكول كور قدموا لي البيت بتاعه جديد، وصل هناك بكير مع مدام بتاعه حارس بتاعه واحد زول البطبقلو. وعشان حماية بتاعه مهم لاننا القائد بتاعنا بتاع جيرل سانتينو دينوال وبعض قوة كفاية بواصل بحماية بتاع كونا جار أكول كور. فأنا بقول لكم المشكلة أصل مبارك كان ما بقصد زي ما أنا قلت it was lack of proper communication. الناس ما كلموا كويس، التعليمات الودوا للقاعدات المختلف ده هم ما فهم نفوسهم عشان كده ضرب أصل. فحلينا مشكلة ده ما يكون في خوف تاني، ما في ضرب تاني باصل الليلة ولا في ضرب تاني باصل في أيامات الجاي. فده أو كبر الوحيد جاي نيجي نقول للناس بتاع جنوب السودان ذات خوف ما في من الليلة من مصر ده ترجع لشكالات بتاعكم، ترجع مالات في مال شكل بتاعكم، ناس مدارس يرجع مدارس بتاعهم بكرة، حياة يرجع في مال بتاعه زي أول لامس. فأنا بشكركم لأنه لو انتم ما موجودين كلام اللي انا بقوله قاعد بقوله ولا بريزيدنسي بقوله ده ما بالنشر. طبعا راديو سوشيال ميديا تلفزيون دي او حاجه جديده اللي بوصل به كلام. لو ده كلام كاب ببرج الناس، لكن لو ده كلام كويس بكل الناس يكون عندهم استقرار. فانا بقول لكم شكرا تواصلوا وتنشر الكلام ده عشان ناس اللي في جوبا يكون عندهم استقرار، ناس في برا جوبا اللي كان قاعد يضرب منهم مباراة ليلة يعرفوا المشكلة ده كان مشكلة بسيط وحلناه بكير. Thank you very much. Reason under house arrest, you call it under arrest, and that he was put under house arrest. We were saying let him enjoy the comfort of his residence. Let him enjoy the comfort of his residence. Later on the leadership maybe we'll find time to tell us why was he confined, what was the reason behind it. But for us we're saying just kalik fi bit bitak. Okay, that was it. Misunderstanding, investigation will find out. Gerald Santino will form an investigation committee to ask those who had started the fighting. And once that investigation is done and we have results, I will also get back to you. Was there a forced attempt? He was simply told ABC the way I was explaining. And for some reasons, the water became muddy before the implementation. But now he has complied and tempers have come down. If you could recall, when there were clashes, a lot of security personnel poured on the streets to stop any further chaos, maybe. Because at my place, we registered random shooting, cases of random shooting. So for us to stop any further disorganization, random shooting, security force were deployed the way you had seen. So it was unfortunate that our members of the clergy did not assess the situation and stop going on with their celebration or with the procession. They should have put the safety of their faithful a priority instead of going ahead with the march, knowing that yesterday there was very heavy fighting, some streets had been sealed. So in my opinion, the judgment, in my opinion, should have been better. That if there was an emergency fighting, heavy fighting the way we had, they should have cancelled it. Okay. So it was as a result of confusion. It was not intentional. And take it from me, whenever there is insecurity, step number one is you restrict your movement as an individual. Assess the security situation. Does it warrant freedom, free movement, or you need to scale it back? So it was not intentional. And as we speak, the forces that were deployed at the residence of General Akol Koor, they had been withdrawn and reported back to the original places. Those who were involved in the fighting on both sides, the ones that were inside, were disarmed, their guns handed over to their mother unit, which is the National Security Bureau, and those from us that were deployed outside and got involved in the fighting, we also disarmed them and we handed over their guns to their commander, the Tiger, so that they go and do their own investigation. This is what had happened to those who were involved in the fighting. I don't always wish us bad thing to happen to us. We are ever ready. That's why we have in this uniform. That's why we have other security organs that are in their respective service uniforms, so that we stand up for the people of South Sudan and protect them. And this is exactly what was done by the commanders of the units that were involved in the mediation. Where dialogue is needed, the tool is used. Where where force is needed, it is deployed. So we assess, and so we are ever ready. Downsizing, you know, when you serve in the government and a time comes that you are no longer in service, your security details automatically is reduced. So it is in line with the government protocols. Italo governor fees security details that befits your position. When you are no longer the governor, but you were once a public figure, political figure, you are given a security that is equivalent to your new status. Okay, that was the reason for downsizing. We are saying once again, he is not under house arrest, but is told to be at his residence. Please, if you are told, of course, be at your residence, that means your freedom of movement has been curtailed. But it's not, you cannot compare it when you are put under key and lock. Well, okay. So if you are moving within your compound and you are meeting people and you are with your family, the impact would be psychological. It would be not as equal as when you are put in the cover with better. So use also, let us coin also our own praise. If the Kawaja Bugul is under house arrest, we also say he has been requested to remain at his home, so that it does not psychologically damage some of our people. SSBC is also He's not also arrested. One is the same. He's not under house arrest. Adia, I'm not sure who is responsible for the treatment of those who were shot and wounded with crossfire. I'm not sure, but I can confirm they have been attended to. If there is a law requires us in the organized forces to treat victims of collateral damage, in this case they were not the primary target, and then of course the law would be used. Peter Louis, prevention of shooting in the future. It is also very important for us to know each time an incident occurs, we must underscore the motive behind it. In the past, we used to experience a lot of celebratory gunfire during public holidays, during what blah blah blah. But you would agree with me that that one had been brought under control. And as Christmas approaches, the same measures we have been putting in place previously would be put in place. In this case, the explanation for yesterday's shooting was clear. So we are up to it. Then finally, Philip Buddha, why Akol Koor case became so special. I honestly don't know, because I was not the one that took the decision. But I can also say Akol Koor also held a very special position for a very long time. Quiz. For General Bada Idawar, crawling, Mabisibu, Quiz, Lodere Waga Finar, Bugulu Lola. Quiz. Lodere Msugi Aja Bugulu Lola. So the leadership knows. It's not me. So if you think it is special, Galulu I got bid bitag, it is special. Galulu, you relocate from here because of 1, 2, 3, you think it is special? That's your view. I will honorably disagree with you that there is nothing special in that. That we told him relocate for the reasons I gave. Okay. If you look at it, looks very special. Alas. The South Sudanese here at home, in diaspora, the investors, they don't get scared. We have successfully brought it under control. Our environment for investment, for tourism, for going about our activities during this festive season should resume as now or as from the morning hours. Thank you very much.